Zach Pepe, what are we talking about today?
What's up? Today we're going to talk about off-season training for throwers.
Off-season training for throwers. So we figured we would just sit down and talk a little bit about this since we're getting into that time of year. Everyone's games should be coming to the end right about now. Highland games we're talking. So what we've been doing ever since about March of last year at the gym in general and on the online programming is we've kind of played with our conjugate system a little bit, and everybody is kind of on a different wavelength, or a lot of us are on a different wavelength. You know, our normal standard fitness clientele as opposed to some of our more high-level strongmen and throwers. We've kind of changed some stuff up. But what we mainly changed around is our Wednesday speed programming. I wanted to do something a little bit more athletic. I wanted to do something involving the strongman implements. And that kind of led into what is now becoming a lot of people's favorite day of the week, which is basically a heavy Metcon. So we're doing a long Metcon of some kind, whether it's a 20-minute EMOM or a 20-minute AMRAP. I like to keep it between 15 and 25 minutes. But the weights are a lot heavier than what you would normally find in a Metcon. So we're using Atlas stones at 80% of what you can put on your shoulder, or farmer's walk handles with body weight or better in each hand, trying to get up to a max front squat within the EMOM. So you're really trying to push yourself with the strength portion of it, even though you are breathing hard and working and taking really short rest periods. And it's building our base to the point where when we do a regular max effort workout on, say, a Monday, no matter what we do, whether the weights are heavy or the rest periods are very short or we throw in a lot of volume, they never are difficult. I think our base is getting to the point where it's so high, and it's higher than let's say an athlete who's more aerobically conditioned. We're doing a base that is aerobically conditioned, but we are more fit with heavier weights, right, which I like.
Yeah. So I think Wednesdays do a good job of just building that general layer of physical preparedness that you were just talking about, and it makes Metcons on the other days seem a little bit easier, because it is not easy to move loads somewhere around 75 to 80% for 20 minutes straight. And I think that's something that we've had to build up to.
Yeah.
You remember when we first started experimenting with this back in the spring, and we were doing, it may even have been in the winter last year when we were experimenting before we programmed it for the rest of the gym, and we were doing some stone workout, and we were loading a stone to a high platform, and we were doing like the 330 stone or something,
right, yeah.
And we just got we got buried that workout.
Yeah.
And I think now doing it more consistently, we've been able to increase the weight and be able to lift that 80% stone to the high platform,
right,
and not miss a rep. And then the other thing with it is it's still in the conjugate system, because even though we're not necessarily doing speed squats, box squats with bands, or deadlifts with chains, accommodating resistance, if you look into why places like Westside Barbell do speed squats and stuff like that, it's because you can't train with maximal weights 4 days a week. You need some other sort of training in there in order to stay on the upward climb. And Westside found that speed squats, box squats, deadlifts, that's what they like to do for powerlifting. But anything sort of training, whether it's a heavy Metcon with sub-maximal weights, is also a good solution to that problem.
Well, and if you're a thrower too, your throwing becomes your speed day.
Right.
We can take a page out of Bondarchuk's playbook and throw heavy puds. We can throw heavy medicine balls and kettlebells and overweight implements, and that's a very specific form. And I'm not talking about strongman here. I'm not talking about powerlifting. If you are a pure thrower, track and field or Highland Games, it's a good way to get your speed work in and have it be specific to what you do. I'm not sure where the carryover is or how much there is a carryover between box squats with bands and how far your shot put goes. I think as young throwers, the carryover is probably a lot better, but as we get more higher level as far as throwing implements, I think you would be much better off skipping that speed day and adding in extra throwing. It's going to be more explosive than any speed day we do in the weight room, and it's going to be more specific to what we do. Now, I'm playing with the idea as we get closer to our competitive season, and I'm almost convinced this is the way to go. As we get closer to our competitive season next year, we start doing less and less of the Wednesday Metcons and adding in things that are going to be more explosive. So we'll have our 2 max effort days earlier in the week, and then we're doing maybe more jumping and more Olympic style weightlifting, high pulls. I'm not a big fan of catching cleans or dropping under lifts, but maybe more high pulls, more medicine ball throwing, and a lot more pud work as opposed to the Metcons. But I think the strength we build and the conditioning we build within our Wednesday sessions, and we actually do it on Wednesdays and most Saturdays now, a similar type of workout. So basically we're getting 2 max effort days in earlier in the week, and then 2 brutally heavy, brutally difficult Metcons later in the week. And I think that's building a base for our people that's second to none. I don't know of very many gyms who even use the strongman implements, but the ones that do, I don't think aren't doing them with the kind of weights we're doing, and for the length of time we're doing. It's super difficult. I know, like you talked about doing that workout where we programmed in 330 stones to the high platform. We came back and did that same workout probably 4 months later, and I ended up using the 370 stone and took a shot at the 380 and got greedy and couldn't quite get it. But so there is some progress strength-wise through this, and I'm really interested in how it plays out, because I'm very skeptical of anyone who gives me absolutes in anything involving the strength world. So if someone tells you shouldn't do static stretching before you lift, I've never seen anyone break because they did static stretching. Yeah, obviously, that's not the prevailing wisdom, but I'm going to play with it. You shouldn't do leg presses. You should only squat. Well, tell it to Sean Shoemaker, who lives and dies by the leg press,
Right.
and he deadlifts 850 at 220 body weight. These absolutes always make me wonder, who's giving you these absolutes and what their knowledge is, and is it just something we are all parroting back and forth to each other to make ourselves look intelligent? I think there is definitely a way to train within Metcons and still get stronger.
Right. Yeah, and I think speaking in absolutes is part of a way that people like to market their program.
Yeah.
Everybody wants the next best thing, and everybody will try to sell their program that way. But like we always talk about, I think the best way is to always try things out for yourselves.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why we keep training logs. If you want to try something new, for example, with the Metcons we've been doing, then you got to track your progress and see what it does for your strength. You can't just expect us to tell you that it's going to get you stronger and better conditioned. You're going to need to log that, and then you'll see for yourself. And that goes with anything. I mean, if you want to see if static stretching helps before you lift, then try out static stretching. Or if you want to see if the leg press will increase your squat, then try it out.
Yeah.
Figure out what works for you, because what works for you may be good for you, but not for me.
And that's part of how, within the conjugate system, you pick which auxiliary exercises to use, which max effort exercises to use. Some lifts are testers, some are improvers, and you don't want to mix the two of them up. So if you notice that deficit deadlifts with chains, whenever you do those, steadily in a program, you seem to go up, then add those in more often, but they may not work for you as well as they work for me. So we mix them up, but you have to know what works for you and what doesn't, and try to touch base with those exercises more often. And we do. We rotate exercises way more than we have less exercises that we rotate than, say, a West Side Barbell. I think those guys are such high-level lifters, they can get away and they probably need to rotate them more because they're so high level. Whereas our people, myself included, are not that high a level, so we can come back to exercises that seem to help us more often. So you may see a deficit deadlift every 2 months, or something like that, whereas they may only see a deficit deadlift from a certain height once every 8 or 9 months.
Yeah, and I forget where I was reading this. It might have been one of Louis' things, or maybe it's something I heard from Judd over the years. But what gets you from a 400-pound bench to a 500-pound bench is not going to get you from a 500-pound bench to a 600-pound bench. Yeah. So with the lower-level athletes, they can get away. Reverse hypers or 45-degree back extensions may get them from, let's say, a 150-pound bench to a 300-pound bench, but eventually that's going to fall off, and they're going to need to find. I said bench. I was using but squat. And eventually the back extension is not going to work anymore, and they're going to need to maybe jump on the reverse hyper machine, and then they'll see increased gains from that. You got to be, again, it goes back to keeping a training log. You got to track your progress.
Yeah, and that's super important. You should keep your training log for your lifts, for your diet, all that stuff. One of the things that frustrates me the most is someone will come to me and say, well, I haven't hit a PR in 3 months. Well, okay, let me see your book. They have no book.
Right.
It almost every time someone says that, if you check their book, you'll find that, yes, they have PR'd. This is just a figment of their imagination, or that they don't have a logbook at all. So they have really no idea what their PRs are, Yeah. So it's hard to shoot for a PR when you don't know what you're trying to break, and then it just becomes do you kind of remember how many plates you had on the bar? I mean, some of these people can't do bar math, so they're not even really sure what is on the bar. So it's real important, keep those log books, and so that you can track your progress a little bit. Going into the off season here now, so we're about to get into October. Most everyone's season is coming to an end, and this is the time where you can experiment with things a little bit more often. So, we like to work in that 3-week wave, where week 1 is going to be a little bit more conditioning based. Week 2 is going to be kind of in the middle, and week 3 we're really pushing heavy. Now, we're doing max effort on Monday and Tuesday no matter what, so that's always going to be heavy, but the Wednesday workouts get heavier, and the Saturday workouts get heavier as the weeks go on. And like I said, that's to wave it up and down, give you a little bit of a break on Monday. It's good for your head. It gives you a chance to know that a little bit lighter workout is coming up. You just have to grind through these 2 weeks, and then you're going to get not a break, but you're going to get some relief from those scary workouts. And Wednesdays and Saturdays can get scary. I'm about to go out and do a farmer's walk workout today that I don't know if I can pick up the weights, Right. So, but I've been thinking about it for the last 3 days. And I'm looking forward to it, but it's a little intimidating too, because you don't know if you can actually do the weights you're going to try. But then we will rotate you up and down, and then when you get to that week 1 workout where it's a little bit less scary and a little bit less weight, you're hungry and you want to get those weights back on weeks 2 and 3. So when we look at throwers coming into the off season, we're going to spend a lot of time hitting our base program with them this off season. So it's a good opportunity. You shouldn't totally lose track or lose touch with the implements. Go out and throw them when you can, especially the lower level athlete you are. If you are new to the sport, do not take the next 5 months off and not look at a weight, not train. You should, anytime the weather permits you, get out there and do a little bit of every one of the events. Try to keep in touch with them as much as possible. Guys who've been in the sport as long as I have can get away from them a little bit, give your body a rest, and maybe go after them once a month. And you're not killing yourself; you're just staying in touch with the techniques. But make sure you don't totally abandon the throwing events for these next 5 months. I know some of you might be listening in warmer weather climates. That seems like an odd thing to say, but we're about to get into some months here in Ohio where December, January, February, and most of March, it could be impassable out there. You'd have to spend 20 minutes shoveling just to get yourself to a point where you can throw, and that's off concrete. Forget about grass in the winter. That's just not going to happen. But this gives us an opportunity to really hit the weights and really improve our strength levels and our speed levels coming into next year. And the first thing we need to do is build a base that I think Wednesdays and Fridays tend to really help us with. So, like I said, once you get into these later in the week Metcons, Monday and Tuesday becomes really easy, and you can really increase the volume on those days. And Mondays and Tuesdays are your most important days. Your 2 max effort days are when you are going to improve your strength levels the most. They give you the best opportunity to do super heavy weights and go for new PRs and really test yourself and really push yourself. So we're going to do this throughout the off season. We're going to keep that base program going, and then, like I said, once we get into the throwing season, I'm talking May, June, July, August for most of us, and we're coming up on meets, we're going to tweak it to the point where we're doing more Olympic-style weightlifting, more jumping, more throwing of heavy implements, more tossing of med balls, that kind of stuff, and more throwing in general, bringing back that conjugate speed day.
Right. So what we're looking at, I think what you're describing is always do the max effort 2 days a week. So max effort upper body, max effort lower body, and then try to get 1 to 2 hard metcons in every week.
Yeah.
So you're basically training 4 days a week, and then when you have time, get out there and throw.
Yeah.
And that's not only for Highland Games guys. If there's any high school athletes listening, that goes for them too. I mean, I just talked to my high school thrower yesterday. I coach football at a different school, and I was like, "What have you been doing?" He's like, "Well, I've just been doing football."
Yeah, okay, next to nothing, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Well, okay, it's football season. Yeah, I get that. I'm a football coach. But you have time on Saturday and Sunday to go out and throw. You may not be hitting your PRs that you were last season. Like, you may be down 5 feet in the shot put, 10 feet in the discus. But that's not the focus when it's October. The focus should be on your technique.
Yeah.
You need to get out there and focus on your technique, feel things out, just move through and it doesn't 30 minutes. I mean, if you're by yourself throwing, it takes 30 minutes 1 day a week, just so that when you come back to track season, we do indoor, you're ready to go.
Yeah, because he's going to drop football and go almost right into
track.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's my recommendation to to younger athletes who are into the throwing events, do multiple sports. I love that. I'll never tell a kid not to go out and try another sport. Even if they want to play basketball, you can still work with indoor track, because you won't have a basketball game Saturday morning.
Right.
And if you're good enough and you want to play basketball, go play basketball. You can still do indoor track.
Yeah.
Throw once or twice a week. And then, so the other thing I want to talk about, which I think we've kind of hit on, is the kind of mental toughness our Metcon, the heavy strongman Metcon training has brought to the people in the gym. The workouts are not easy to get through. And I remember you telling me last week, you said, every time you come in for one of these workouts, you're like, fuck, I don't want to do this. But then you get it done and you feel so much better.
Yeah. I think it goes back to our stances. We're building formidable people, whether they're athletes or soccer moms. I just want people to be formidable. When we looked at our sports performance program for athletes, we originally thought we were going to do a basic West Side split with them, 2 max effort, 2 speed days. And after working with them for a few weeks, I realized right away what we were dealing with. They're not strong yet, obviously, because they're young kids, and we're dealing with 7th grade on up to 12. So we do need that heavy strength training done correctly. So Mondays and Wednesdays, you're working on real strength development, a lot of bodybuilding, a lot of tendon and ligament building, and getting a lot of volume in. But then we switched our Saturdays and Sundays to look more like what we're doing with the rest of our program. And one of the main reasons, I guess there was 2 main reasons. Looking at our kids, they're too heavy. So there's a lot of excess tissue, and that's a sciencey way of saying they're too fat. And that's normal, especially with linemen. We deal with some linemen who are just a little bit too heavy. And it's not necessary. We can get them moving a little bit and burn some of that fat off them. It's also important for us to teach them about diet, nutrition. Excuse me. So the Metcons are going to help with that. The Metcons are going to help with strength development in weird angles and planes of motion. Okay, so when I watch someone do a tire flip, to me, it looks very similar to offensive linemen pushing against each other. It looks very similar to me than what wrestlers do. It's not an evenly weighted barbell that's perfectly and made perfectly to lift. You've got to struggle and push and grind and use your body in weird ways, and that's super important for athletes. But like you talked about, I think the main thing that they do is develop a mental toughness. Hayden, my son, has been doing these things for years. As a kid who was just able to walk, him in diapers, I remember him just being able to walk, and I would put a 9-pound medicine ball on the couch next to me, and I would just push it off the couch, and he would pick it up and put it on the couch, and I would knock it back off, and he would do that. He would do that for hours.
Right.
He'd go away and play, and then he'd come back and do that again. So he's literally been lifting weights of some kind since he was able to walk, and doing these hard conditioning workouts ever since we opened up the gym, and he has zero problems with any kind of the conditioning that the football team does. I mean, there's no problems with it at all, and he doesn't get tired. He's not gasping for air on the sidelines. He's just doing his job, and I think that all comes from the training. So that was one of the things we wanted to do with the mental toughness aspect of this, is get these kids in a mindset that this is going to suck really bad, but you can't quit. You just have to keep grinding and keep pushing, and There's no taking a set off. There's no, this hurts. I can't do this. That's another thing is they need to realize what an injury is as opposed to something hurting. And it's our job to teach them that. They're just not going to walk in the street. A lot of these kids come from single family households where mom's trying to raise boys, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of great single moms out there trying to raise boys, but they need that role model of that guy telling them, this is how you be a man. This is how you be tough. This is how you struggle through things, and we're not going to nerf this gym for you. You're just going to go out and do it, and you're going to become a survivor from it. I remember going to Alaska one time, and speaking of not nerfing things, we're driving up, me and Harrison Bailey are driving up to this glacier, and we're driving through these winding mountain passes, and there's no guardrails on the side of the road. And it's just basically a steep drop down to the thing, and Harrison's like, man, it's kind of freaking me out a little bit. And I'm like, yeah, welcome to fucking Alaska. It's like, you're either going to be tough here and learn to thrive, or you're not going to make it.
Yeah, or you're going to die. Yeah.
And I think that is to a lesser extent, the way we need to look at a lot of programming for younger athletes. We are not dealing with, I don't know any football players, but, name your high-level football player. You see these guys doing their 30 for 30 documentaries or whatever what's the football one where they follow the teams around?
The Hard Knocks.
The Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
You follow them around and they're doing, one-legged step-ups on a Bosu ball with the opposite arm, doing a row with the band. None of that shit is necessary, especially for young athletes. None of us are to that level.
When you're at that level, you can get that specific.
And my honest opinion is if you took Joe Ken aside or Buddy Morris and talked to them and said, hey, what really do these athletes need? They could still use more basic strength movements,
Yeah.
But these kids definitely don't need that. They need hard, brutal workouts where they're getting stronger and they're burning fat and they're running and jumping and lifting odd objects. And I'll put that kind of training up against any one of these $1 million sports complexes because they just don't get it. Or they do get it and they're fooling themselves and they're putting out an inferior product in order to appease the parents who have watched these Hard Knock television shows. We do that same thing that,
right.
Charlie Football was doing the other day on ESPN. I had a guy, this was funny, and I didn't take offense to it. It actually was funny. Isaac was talking to a parent the other day about getting his kid into here because the kid needed all the things we're trying to provide, strength and speed and toughness, and he said he was going to take him to one of these really big sports athletic complexes because he wanted someone reputable to coach him. And I was like, holy shit. Right. I mean, I've been in this business since 96, but it was funny. The parents don't know. They don't know who's who. I'm more known outside of this area of the country than I am in
this area. Yeah, for sure. That's funny because then on the opposite end of that, we had one of the kids that comes to the athlete class, his dad was telling me, he's like, I walked into this place and I was like, I just knew this is like old school strength, like just hard, tough people training. You don't need anything fancy, just hard work.
Yeah, we've got
and when you walk into our gym, it's got a really cool feel. It's just one of those places, when you walk in that heavy weight gets moved in here sometimes.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of places can provide that feeling. And sometimes it's like an adrenaline rush when you walk in here.
Yeah, and a lot of it has to do with where we are. My buddy Tom Reaney out at Black Flag, his place is beautiful. It's a beautiful gym. It looks like a CrossFit gym. It's pretty. Everything's clean. It looks like nobody uses it. I don't know how often he cleans it, probably after every class, but he's dealing with a clientele where he can charge a lot of money, and these people are expecting that. They're expecting, they don't necessarily care how much weight they deadlift. He has a competitor program for people who really care about that, but you're not looking at people who necessarily care about how much they squat or power clean. They just want to get in shape and get healthy, and functional fitness is a great way to do that. But that's not the way I started off with the Ludus, which was a 20 by 20 garage with a leaking roof and no heat and no air, and I wanted to kind of bring that feeling and that atmosphere, because all we did was knock it out of the park with high school and college athletes. We just kept producing awesome athletes because the kids that came out of there were just strong and fast and tough. And when you are willing to work out in a 20 by 20 garage with a leaky roof with no heat, when it is literally below zero outside, you can't help but get better. Every PR I've ever had in my life when I was really strong and really heavy and really going at it in the high games came in that shitty little garage. So when we opened Blind Dog, I wanted to bring that same blood and sand atmosphere to the training we were doing here. This is not a place where you're going to come in and get your smoothie at the front door. No one's even going to fucking greet you at the front door except for the cat. You have to walk in the front door. Then you have to take the bigger step, which everyone tells me is super intimidating the first day, where you have to walk in the main gym with the sign over the door that says no sniveling, and walk in there because that's where the music's coming from, so you know that whatever's going on must go in there. And that's intimidating the first time you do it, but the people who walk through there get better. They become better athletes. They get in better shape. They look better. They feel better. They live longer. And that's just what we've built: a blood and sand gym, in 6,600 square feet. So
right,
trying to get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, the Ludus days were always great. Going in there in the wintertime and wear layers of clothing and try to bench press with a long sleeve shirt, a sweatshirt over it, your beanie cap on, and we're all trying to huddle up around one little space heater in between sets. The bars set out in the garage, so they got like frost on them. They're super cold.
And God forbid if it rained the day before and then froze the next day,
right?
Because there was water, and ice,
leaky roof. And then outside on the sandstone slabs where we made our makeshift deadlift platform.
We're doing cleans with a bar with tires instead of bumper plates.
Yeah.
It was crazy. We had Atlas stones out there, and it was just a place to get strong with no frills. And I never expected to get anything other than hardcore athletes in there. And I think that last class we moved through there, every single athlete ended up going somewhere. That's senior class. Every single athlete, at least for a short time, went and did college athletics.
Right.
And most of you guys did it for a long time.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. And I think it's kind of cool what you built from the Ludus, like you talked about, into Blind Dog Gym when it was on Tenney Avenue.
Yeah.
And then moving it here now. It's pretty cool to see. That the people that stayed from Tenney Avenue when you moved over here, they're in almost forever. I mean, they may disappear for a month or so, and then they're always back in here.
Yeah.
People get caught up with life all the time, but they're some of the toughest people I know.
Yeah.
And some of them may not even be top level athletes or competitors. They just love training, and it's done wonders for their life, whether it made them a better mom, dad, husband, wife, businessman, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, people always talk about life lessons they learned in the gym, and I think that some of our people here are really starting to carry that over into their own life. They understand how training relates to life, how it can make you a better person, and I think that's what you got going on here. Really cool.
It makes a lot of things in life a lot easier. You're depressed? Oh, well, I think the first thing you need to do is get your fitness and your diet in order before you go to a pill. So you have people in here who came in and on medication who are voluntarily taking themselves off the medication because I think they realize that in some cases they can get more out of the training than they can out of a pill. Oh, you're having problems sleeping at night? Well, very few people who go through this training 4 and 5 days a week have problems sleeping at night. They fall asleep pretty quickly because you're tired, you know.
Yeah.
And like I said, this isn't everyone. I mean, Erin doesn't sleep. That's because she's a fucking psychopath. She's not. It's not because she's not tired, but it can solve a lot of these made up issues that we have in 2018 that comes from lack of struggle. And this gym is about the struggle and about doing hard shit. And one of the things I try to do with the Wednesday and Saturday Metcons is encourage people to use the heaviest friggin' weight you possibly can, because that's where the challenge is going to come from.
Mm-hmm.
We were doing ones and ones yesterday. Heavy front squat, working up to a max, and in the even minutes, heavy farmer's walk. And you can tell the people who pushed it and used a really heavy weight in that farmer's walk.
And then you can tell the people who didn't.
And there was no sweat.
Right.
1 and 1 isn't very hard if you use real light weights,
Yep.
but...
Same if you're not increasing, like we were increasing weight on the front squat. If you're taking really small jumps and you started at a light weight, it's not going to help you. What I always tell people when I'm coaching is just make it the shittiest part of your day.
Absolutely.
If you just gut through it and say fuck it and push yourself to where you think you're going to pass out, then good. That'll make going home, picking up your kid from school, getting their dinner ready, doing the dishes, making sure the laundry's done. It'll make that stuff that much easier.
Yeah.
If you just make the Metcon the shittiest part of your day.
Yeah, it's important to live your life a certain way, and it's not for everybody, but being into history and things like that as I am, I think there's a gladiator type lifestyle, a Spartan type lifestyle, where you don't have to be a big giant meathead to live that. You just need to have that desire to put yourself through some kind of shitty struggle every day to make yourself better, and to I honestly believe it alleviates a lot of the made up stressors we have in life. We are not holed up in some city waiting for the Mongols to come over the hills. We are not having to go out in hunting parties and kill a woolly mammoth to make sure we can feed ourselves for the next few days. We have very little struggle in life. And what we do in this gym does not replicate that kind of stress, but it gives you something. It gives you the opportunity, and you have the opportunity to say to yourself, I'm going to do something hard today. I am purposely going to do something hard today that's going to make myself better. And when we do that, it takes you closer to that Spartan lifestyle, that gladiator lifestyle, where training becomes a part of your life, and you can look at people around you and you start to notice them, and you notice weakness and you notice softness, and you can rejoice in the fact that you're not part of that. You're not part of that epidemic that is sweeping the nation and sweeping the world. You're not part of that. You're a throwback to something old school, and there's an innate toughness about you that people can't take away from you. And you just got to keep that discipline and keep striving for that. And don't tell me you've lost your mojo and that's why you haven't been to the gym. Get to the gym. And there's plenty of days I don't feel like working out, but you get in there and you push and you struggle and you do it anyhow and you feel great afterwards. Don't fail every fucking week. There are people who screw it up and fail, sometimes 1 or 2 times a week. And they just don't show up at a workout because they don't feel like it, or they just don't feel good today, or they're tired, or their kid had a basketball game. Just get in here. There's plenty of classes. I don't buy the excuse you don't have time. I don't buy the excuse that you don't have the energy. You'll have the energy if you're in here, and you'll make more money at whatever you're doing job-wise when you're healthy and your brain's fresh and you feel good about yourself. Get in here and do something and struggle a little bit.
Right. The I don't have time excuse always gets me, because you probably even feel like that sometimes. I know I do when I have a bunch of stuff going on and maybe I'll need to change the time that I work out.
Right,
But
yeah.
when I wake up, I'm like, shit, I don't know when I'm going to get my workout in. And then I get to doing everything that I need to get done. I get it done, and then I find that extra 30, 40 minutes to get to the gym. And, I mean, we're open basically all morning and then all afternoon once the kids are done with school till the last class is at 7 p.m. at night. So there's plenty of times to come in here and get it done. It may not be at your normal time when you're used to working out, but there's time, even if you need to, we have a 6 a.m. class.
Yeah.
Even if you're busy all afternoon, get your ass in here at 6 a.m.
But you know what people say when you say we have a 6 a.m. class? Oh, that's too early for me. Then you're not the kind of fucking person I want to deal with anyhow.
Right.
Go somewhere else.
Yeah.
I honestly, I'm to that point now where I only want to deal with the people who are of like mind, or at least want to be of like mind. I'm not going to corral people to get into this gym anymore because they're life suckers. You know, they're just going to give me excuse after excuse after excuse. I want the hard chargers. I want the people who want it. Whether that's someone, I don't care if you're a 100-pound girl who can't lift her body weight. As long as you want it, I'm here to help you. But I'm certainly not going to chase you down and force you to come into the gym, because then I'm babysitting, and that's not what I do. I'm a strength coach. I have the gift of getting people in shape and strong. If you want that gift, I will give it to you freely. I don't want to hear the excuse you don't have the money. There's never been a person who's come in these doors who wasn't an absolute jerk, who I didn't find a way to get them in here money-wise. We offer these 3-month blocks of training all year long. Right now, we are in a free 3-month block for any police officer, dispatcher, corrections officer within driving distance of this gym. And you can work out from September 1st to December 1st. And then if you want to continue, we'll give you a huge discount because you're a first responder. And we do this every year. We do it for nurses. We do it for firemen. We do it for paramedics and teachers and military. But right now we're in the police, dispatch, and corrections portion of it. We are almost, it's September 27th when we do this. We have not had one police officer walk through this door, even though recently we had 3 police officers in an altercation that went viral where they couldn't handle this guy and got their police car stolen. Right. You are in a line of work where your life is on the line all the time, and it's not funny to be weak. It's not funny to be fat. You're delusional if you think you are in shape and you're not doing some kind of real training. And I'm not talking, back and buys and chest and tries. I'm talking about where you are doing something functional, because I've been in those situations. I worked as a corrections officer for 19 years, and I've been in brawls. And I tell you what, I've had to come and save guys who, if it would have went another minute longer, they were in a lot of trouble, Luckily, I was a big enough guy that I didn't have that much problem with, 150-pound inmates. But if you're on the street, it could be 5 or 10 minutes before someone comes to save your ass. And you don't want to be the guy who they're coming to save. You want to be the guy coming to save somebody else. Don't be that liability in the streets. And get in here and train, and your life depends on it. Your wife and children depend on you. It's not a funny joke to be a fat ass and wear a badge. It just isn't. It's sick. It's not funny at all, and it worries me personally. I wouldn't want to be a guy being backed up by one of these fat asses who can't defend themselves.
Right? Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
A scary situation to be in, for sure. One of the other things that I wanted to bring up is that I think that happiness comes from the struggle. We talked about how a lot of people are depressed nowadays. They don't face that many struggles. Happiness comes from problem solving. You need to accomplish something in order to get that feeling of being happy. And if you're not accomplishing anything, you're just waking up every day, going to work, eating fast food, and you're not striving for anything more, then you're not going to be happy.
Yeah.
And what fitness does is it gives you something to aim for. And it may not start, maybe fitness isn't your thing, but you can set another goal. But what fitness does for a lot of people, it gives them a goal to get in shape. Accomplishing that goal, they're able to set up goals outside of their life, and they're able to keep improving. And I really think you need to find problems to solve in your life if you want to be happy. Because if you're not solving problems, then what's the point of even living? You know, and whether you believe in God or whatever your beliefs are, you need something to keep you going. You know, this might be your only shot. There's not an afterlife. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got one life to live. Why don't you live it? Make the best of it. So
be the best human being you can be while you're here, right?
Yeah.
And then the other thing is you do that, you struggle, you bust your ass in the gym, you get after it, you eat right, and then on the weekends, have that glass of wine. You know, smoke that cigar. You know, have that bowl of ice cream, and then come Monday, you're right back on the train, getting after it. You know, it's all about balance. But I'm interested in working with people who want to achieve that balance, want to live that Spartan lifestyle, want to be gladiators, and are interested in improving their life through struggle. But we didn't talk anything about off-season training, but like we were planning on.
We did the first half a little bit. I mean, I think. I mean, there wasn't really much more to say. We talked about how we were doing the Metcons.
If people outside the area are interested, we run online programming. I was always reluctant to do online programming, but the way we do it, I really enjoy. We're trying to build a community within Facebook. Our Facebook group is filled with some very high-level athletes. Steve Schmidt just broke the world record in the block press. Andy Vincent, very high-level pro Highland Games athlete, former pro football player, former pro strongman. Dan Tennyson, pro Highland Games athletes in there. Sharon Moss is very high-level woman, strong woman. Lance Holland Keene, Masters World Champion competitor. I'm sure I'm forgetting. James Spurgeon, world's strongest disabled man. There's a ton of really high-level athletes that are taking part in this. And it's not a hand-holding, just like this gym isn't a hand-holding. You're going to get the programs sent to you. You're going to be able to ask whatever questions you want, technical, just questions in general about the program. You know, what's this exercise kind of stuff. You can post videos. You can talk shit. We do a lot of these, you know, I'm in this mess today with these farmers walks because of shit talking. I had to take someone up on the challenge, and that's awesome. It's going to make for something epic, you know. I urge you to take advantage of the online programming. It's $50 a month. You really can't beat that. It's systematic. It's really good whether you're a strongman athlete or a track and field athlete or a Highland Games athlete or just somebody who wants to be more formidable. You know, we will help you out. On top of that, if you are a Highland Games guy or a track and field guy, we'll give technical analysis as far as the throws. I'm available all the time. So I urge you to give that a shot. You can try it out for free, see if you like it, and then we'll go from there. Shoot me a Facebook message or an email at blinddoggym@gmail.com. We'll get you set up, and you can give it a shot.
Right, yeah. And the Facebook community is awesome. I mean,
it really is.
They post every time after they do a workout. And, yeah, I just think it's a good way to communicate. If there's ever any questions, either me or Mark normally answer back on modifications if you don't have stones, whatever, what you can do. And then on top of that, make sure you go to therefinedsavage.com. We got our fall sale going on right now.
Actually, by the time this comes out, it won't be going on. But
by
this time this comes out, we'll probably have a lot more gear up on the site.
We got some pretty cool things coming up.
Yeah, drops are about to happen.
Yeah, the Halloween T-shirt.
Yep.
We're thinking of ideas for Christmas, holiday specials, that sort of thing already.
Go there, buy some gear. Yeah. We'll support the brand, and we'll keep supporting you guys. So, all right, this has been the Refined Savage. See ya.